Amberlynn has uploaded again. This time she's gracing us with a piece titled In a Situationship and the Real Reason People Are Obsessed with Me. I suppose we're no longer even pretending that she isn't a full-time narcissist with delusions of grandeur and the self-awareness of a wet mop. But anyway, let us plunge into the swamp together. Gloves on, hazmat if you have it, it's recap time. She greets us with the tones of someone who believes that simply showing up counts as effort. She knows you expected a weigh-in or a what I ate today, and instead of delivering, she offers the classic fallback. I didn't have time. She didn't have time to weigh herself? Something that takes less than 60 seconds provided one can peel themselves off the couch long enough to stand upright. But Amberlynn would have us believe that she's been in back-to-back board meetings, negotiating mergers and filing her taxes and filming a biopic. In reality, we all know she's just rotating between couch, car, bingo hall and restaurants with the dedication of a pendulum. The live stream didn't happen either, but don't worry peasants, she's rescheduling it for Sunday. This isn't busy, it's not overwhelmed. This is weaponized laziness dressed up in victimhood. Let's take a moment of silence for our precious paying members. Some people pay for this. They fund the privilege of being ignored and lied to with shocking consistency. You can't even make it up. Her paying members are being billed to fund her absence. The first section is Sip in Community, where questions are answered, clarity is dodged, and logic is slowly strangled in real time. First, she's asked quite reasonably why she claimed to weigh 516 on May 21st when she previously stated she was 546 just 2 days prior. Her answer is the classic, my scale was broken. Again. Of course it was. Much like her accountability, her credibility, and whatever tenuous grip on reality she still pretends to have. She tells the scale story again. She didn't know it was broken until she went to the doctor. Because, naturally, one's own reflection, tight clothing and collapsing furniture are less trustworthy than a rickety bathroom scale with all the accuracy of a carnival fortune teller. But like the genius she is, she put 2 and 2 together and realised she was gaining weight. A brilliant deduction. She's like Columbo, Sherlock Holmes and Jessica Fletcher all rolled into one. Next we get the DoorDasher story, which is still the most suspicious narrative she's tried to spin in a while. She offers another screenshot as proof, but insists that she blur the Dasher's name because she doesn't want to dox him. It's noble and convenient and unverifiable. If all this is true, this is a really bad situation, and for her to use it for content rather than actually taking the necessary steps is appalling. You'd think that someone allegedly traumatized by a stranger crossing boundaries would be seeking legal intervention, not harvesting clicks and concocting lore for her live streams. Someone asks her why doesn't she see a dietitian, and her answer is a tragic symphony of narcissism. I know all the knowledge, she says. Yes, of course. That's why your relationship with food resembles slow-motion demolition. You don't need more knowledge, Amberlynn. You just need to surrender your ego and submit to someone capable of holding you accountable, something you violently reject at every turn. Next is a question on the lack of trust between her and her viewers. Her response is a monologue in sociology. She breaks her audience into tiny labelled subsections like she's dissecting them for a research paper. Some people trust me, some don't. Some don't trust me because they're haters. Some don't trust me because I'm a pathological liar who weaponizes mental illness as a shield in a content funnel. Oh wait, she didn't say that, that was me. But it should have been her. She claims to be sad about the disconnect, but she's done nothing to repair it. No transparency, no truth. She just wants trust given, not earned. That's not how trust works. That's how cults work. There's a question about why she was sleeping in a crib and drinking from a bottle at 4, and she claims she doesn't know, which probably tracks. And finally, someone questions the noises in her intro. She acknowledges that she too hears it as a seal noise, but insists that it's an instrument. She really thinks her intro is inspirational, but it's not, it's just delusional. It paints her as some bustling, thriving girl boss, when in reality she's just a woman who barely vlogs, doesn't weigh in, and answers valid questions with lukewarm nonsense. Coming out of Sipping Community, we descend into the marshy depths of the Linterview. It's completely self-indulgent and criminally uninteresting. It's a combination that only Amberlynn can achieve. The first question's quite light. Would she ever visit Canada? What does she think of goth girls? Would she ever get a tattoo? She answers with the same childlike detachment she gives to all hypotheticals. Yes, I like the aesthetic. Yes, but I'm scared. She claims she has a high pain intolerance, which drives me crazy. It's the most unintentionally hilarious phrasing I've ever heard. Amber, we all know you're not getting a tattoo. You can't even commit to standing on a scale. Let's not pretend that body art is on the horizon. Next up is a gummy-fueled existential inquiry about why people are so obsessed with her. She admits that in the 2018 to 2019 era, the appeal was the train wreck of it all. Fair. The mukbangs, the chaos, it was a grotesque spectacle of destruction. People don't watch her because she's relatable. They watch because it's impossible to look away. But then she gracelessly pivots into claiming that now she's just a normal girl living a normal life. No, Amber. You're not a girl, you're a 34-year-old woman who weaponizes infantilization as a shield. You use words like girl like they're a defense against accountability. You're not just a girl. You're not starring in some coming-of-age film. You're a fully grown adult with a decade-long public history of gaslighting, lying, and exploiting your health and trauma for money. Just own it. She tries to downplay the obsession by pinning it on mob mentality. Subreddits, reaction channels, forums, communities of people, she claims, are feeding off each other's hatred. As if she's got nothing to do with it. As if her own behaviour hasn't fertilised the ground that these communities have grown from. You didn't create a hate mob, Amber. You created content so saturated with manipulation and contradiction that people responded to it. That's on you. She even claims that she'd still make a living without the haters. That she has so many supportive people. Supportive people? Are they in the room with us? Are they in the ether? I took a little scroll through her comments section and all I saw were 2 lukewarm defenders swimming in a sea of criticism. You're not widely loved, Amber. You're tolerated by a core group of enablers and watched by a far larger audience that finds your self-destruction more compelling than your content. As for the obsession, no one is obsessed with Amberlynn Reid except for Amberlynn Reid. Reaction channels do other things. They live, they work, they have people in their lives that actually like them. If you vanished tomorrow, Amber, most of them would simply pivot because they're good enough to do other kinds of content as well. You, on the other hand, would just crumble because your entire sense of identity is built on being perceived. Remove the viewers and Amberlynn Reid ceases to exist. And that's not normal. That's not a peaceful life. That's pathological. She says she's very grateful for anyone who clicks on her content. And of course she is. Because without them she'd have to confront her own actual life. And that's one reality she refuses to film. Next we arrive at the emotional exploitation portion of the linterview. A viewer poses a deeply fair, remarkably restrained question. Why has your weight loss been so unsuccessful despite 10 years of publicly trying? Amber interrupts to say, actually I've been trying since I was 10. As though expanding the timeline of failure from 10 years to 24 somehow softens the blow. Newsflash, that makes it worse. You've had nearly a quarter of a century to address this, and all you've accumulated is excuses and takeout receipts. She proceeds to spiral into a monologue about trauma, BMI, and My 600 Pound Life, which she watches as inspiration. Amberlynn, My 600 Pound Life is a cautionary tale, not a tutorial. She tells us that to reach her size, one has to endure a lot, emotionally, physically, sexually. And she has. So have thousands of other people. And many of them still do the work. Amberlynn's trauma is real, I am not denying that. But her refusal to evolve is chosen. There is a sharp line between explaining your pain and weaponizing it. She hides behind her trauma like body armor. She goes on to say, this proves it's not a choice, it's mental, which is such a staggering misunderstanding of addiction psychology that I briefly lost all my brain function. Addiction is real, but so is personal responsibility, and the two are not mutually exclusive. With all the grace of a fridge being dropped down a staircase, she says, I don't always make excuses, I have reasons. She's even publicly asked for help distinguishing the two. The distinction's simple. A reason explains, an excuse justifies. She uses both interchangeably, and she does it to avoid doing anything. She ends by claiming the viewer's question was constructive criticism, and I do agree, which is precisely why she didn't really answer it. Then we get mood whiplashed into a question about instruments and singing, to which she gives us a riveting tale of playing the flute and being in 6th grade chorus. She claims she dreams of playing the electric guitar. I dream of a universe where she finishes what she starts, but here we are. Things take a political turn when a viewer asks if she's been following what's happening in Palestine, and her response is, I try very, very hard not to talk about politics. Then she says she'd love to go to Ireland. Sure. Add it to the Pinterest board of imaginary ambitions, right next to getting tattoos and succeeding at weight loss. The next message is a suspicious fan message. It's a bizarre robotic monologue singing Amber's praises, lamenting their own YouTube failures, and assuring her that she's not a failure because she has subscribers. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, and I don't really like to throw out baseless accusations, but even I had to squint. The voice was flat and mechanical. I'm not saying she's using AI to do all of these messages, but some people claim she does, and I'm not going to say they were wrong with this one. Then again, I can't really judge. I still see comments from people thinking that my voice is AI generated, so what the hell. The next question is, have you ever used a food scale while counting calories? In a rare moment of agreement with reality, she says yes, and even correctly points out that weighing food can be accurate. It's a shocking turn of events. I was half expecting her to say that she uses the psychic energy of Twinkie's tail wags to determine her portion sizes. But I'm not going to hand her a Nobel Prize just yet. She delivers all this information as though it's revolutionary, as though she's the co-author of nutritional science. But if she knows all this, why the hell isn't she doing it? The next message is from someone who's a personal trainer and who's followed Amber for years and routinely defends her in comment sections. First of all, condolences. Second, the poor soul asks the obvious. Would she ever work with a personal trainer? Amberlynn's answer, nope, not interested. Of course she's not. A personal trainer would expect accountability, effort, follow-through. These are three things that Amber has treated with the same urgency most people save for vacuuming under the fridge. The next question asks what Amber would like to learn, and her answer is psychology. Let that sink in. Amberlynn Reid, a woman who has weaponized mental illness as content for over a decade, believes she's qualified to probe the minds of serial killers. She says she wants to go into the mind of a murderer, as if her own mind isn't already a cluttered attic of unresolved trauma, chronic denial, and Cheesecake Factory menus. She also claims that her Fitbit arrived destroyed and was broke. Broken, darling. English is not a new language to you, Amberlynn. Maybe master that before you dream of mastering psychology. We then tumble headfirst into relationship talk with a question about situationships. Amber claims she's been in several, claims she's loyal even in undefined flings. This, as we all know, is a lie. She has a documented history of emotionally entangling herself with strangers from the internet, flying them in, moving them in within days. She claims that she gets jealous and overinvested, which could be a BPD symptom, but in her case it's also just her personality. She doesn't just build relationships, she throws herself at anyone who makes eye contact and then films the emotional wreckage for content. She says the goal of dating is to find her person. No, Amber, the goal of dating is growth, honesty, vulnerability, shared respect. Not dragging someone else into your food addiction and narcissism spiral while calling it love. Also, is this what she's talking about in the title of the video? In a situationship? So she's not dating. She's not in a situationship. She's in a fantasy where vague, unnamed attention counts as intimacy. She ends again with bad choices. It's a segment so on brand it might as well be her autobiography subtitle. First up, would you accept $500,000 but every time you speak you have to rub your nipples? She says no because that could make a lot of people uncomfortable. Darling, you already do. Consistently, you've monetized discomfort. But I do admire the sudden burst of ethics regarding bodily boundaries. Heaven forbid Amberlynn Reid be inappropriate. Next, is it okay to cheat on your partner if they gain £100? She says no, it's never okay. Excuse me, hasn't she cheated before? She's also been the other woman, so spare us the moral absolutism. You're not a spokesperson for loyalty, you're a case study in impulse control failure. Even when you're in a relationship, if someone else blinks too slowly, you're flirting. You can't rewrite history now. Then we get, would you rather be with someone smart or gorgeous? She replies with the ultimate cop-out, why not both? Because choices, Amber. The thing's called bad choices, not fantasy Tinder for narcissists. Just answer the question. Next is zombie apocalypse ethics. Would she sacrifice everyone else to save herself? She claims there are people she'd save in a literal heartbeat. False. There is no heartbeat faster than Amberlynn's sprint to self-preservation. She wouldn't just save herself, she'd use other people as bait. She's the girl in horror movies who locks the cabin door behind her. Lastly, would she be a good Amazing Race teammate? She says no, because she's 500 pounds and not very quick. It's the first honest thing she's ever said. Even then, it's only partially true. She wouldn't be a bad teammate because she's overweight. She'd be a bad teammate because she lacks the stamina, discipline, humility, and communication skills required to function on a team. Weight is not her limitation, her personality is. And that concludes today's descent into the Amberverse, a land where accountability goes to die, logic is on life support, and victimhood is the main exhibit. We've seen her fumble basic facts, rewrite her past, and paint herself as the misunderstood heroine and passive observer in the car crash she's driving. It's impressive, it's like watching someone juggle flaming swords while insisting they've never seen fire. As always though, thank you for being here with me through this mess. You could spend your time anywhere, and you're choosing to wade through the delusion swamp with me. It's noble, I respect that. If Amberlynn ever does find the elusive clarity she seeks, I'll still be here. Until then, stay sharp, stay savage, and for the love of efficiency, do not take life advice from a woman who thinks that knowing the word trauma qualifies her to teach a college seminar. See you next time. We'll continue documenting the world's slowest spiral.